Hello, and welcome to the Lake Lawrence YouTube channel. If you've been watching my YouTube videos, you know who I am. My name is Barry Halverson. I'm with the Lake Lawrence Lake Management District Steering Committee. And today I'm going to bring you some video clips and some slide presentation on how to control yellow flag iris on your lake, streams, rivers, or other water bodies. This is what yellow flag iris looks like. This would be kind of a description of it. It's an emergent aquatic perennial, usually found along wetland areas such as lakes, rivers, streams, or at the edge of ponds. It has a yellow flower with three downward facing sepals, as you can see here, often with brown or purple veins at the base, and three smaller upward pointing petals. Each stem may have multiple flower heads. As you can see here, there's three flower heads on this one stem in the center here that's being pointed to. It has broad, flat, pointed leaves that overlap at the base. They're fairly broad, and these flower systems can get 4 foot tall, 3 to 4 foot tall. Yellow flag iris can winter over. If you have mild winters, the leaves can stay green year round. It has thick rhizomes at the base that form dense mats. It spreads both by rhizomes and by seed. Seed pods grow in clusters after bloom time. After the flowers drop off, the seed pods come on. And they're about 1/4 inch in diameter and have the ability to float. There'll be another video that I'm going to be producing that gives the life cycle of the yellow flag iris that will show all of that in detail. Washington State has laws under the Revised Code of Washington, RCW 1710, that requires public and private landowners to control designated noxious weeds on their property. Control requirements have regional designations and are defined in the Washington Administrative Code, or the WAC 16.750. Yellow flag iris has been designated as a Class C noxious weed by both the state of Washington and Thurston County. Thurston County weed programs conduct annual surveys for noxious weeds. The program notifies the appropriate landowner of the presence of the noxious weed and provides weed management suggestions. If the noxious weeds are not controlled, the county may control the weeds at the owner's expense. Basically, you'll get a bill. If you don't pay the bill, then you can have your property lien placed against your property. Each county has a website that identifies, classifies, and provides important information about noxious weeds within their jurisdiction. The impact of yellow flag iris, if not controlled, are these thick mats, as I just explained in describing the plant. This is what we call a yellow flag iris floating island. This particular floating island was over 70 foot long and over 40 foot wide. And below the water surface was about 4 foot deep. As you can see, it didn't float in all the way to the shoreline here. It stopped short of the shoreline because it hit the ground. This clogged up the entire Lake Lawrence Community Club swim area for about 3 months until we were able to get some hooks onto it and tow it with a boat all the way to a secure cove on the other end of the lake, which took about 3 to 4 hours to tow this thing. The other problem is that is a hazard to navigation. You can imagine having one of these things out there in your lake, particularly at dusk or early morning, and driving your boat out to the fishing grounds or water skiing or jet skiing or anything else and coming across one of these things and hitting them. The other problem is that the sap from this plant is poisonous to humans, livestock, and wildlife. As you can see here, this dog's sores were caused when she ran through patches of yellow flag iris in her yard. I've got another video, as the video link shows here, posted to the Lake Lawrence YouTube site called Shoreline Property Owners' Responsibility for Cleanup After Yellow Flag Iris Treatment. And it shows an interview with John Gray, who was poisoned by the sap of the yellow flag iris and had to go to the emergency room and get medication to treat the problem. And it lasted for several days.
Wear gloves, long sleeve shirt, long pants, just for safety precautions. You may not be susceptible to the sap in this plant, but this plant has a lot of, you open that thing up, and it's got a lot of juice in it. I don't know if you can see that, but it's that juice in that plant that is toxic, and it'll cause a serious rash on your skin. Animals too, it doesn't matter. So we're going to bag this stuff up and haul it off.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the history of treatment control methods on Lake Lawrence. This yellow flag iris plant was first identified on Lake Lawrence in 2003 when we were doing research for the Lake Management District Integrated Aquatic Vegetative Management Plan. And then in 2010, yellow flag iris control was discussed during a Lake Management District meeting. In October 2013, there was an effort funded by the Lake Management District to assess the impact of yellow flag iris. Part of that assessment went into part of the research for the 2014 Deschutes River watershed study, which showed that yellow flag iris had infected the Deschutes River from below the Lake Lawrence outflow creek all the way down to Capitol Lake. So the seeds for this plant float around. They're very viable for years. They can blow in the wind, they can float in the water. And the outflow creek, when it reached its high point in the winter and started outflowing down to the Deschutes River, took a lot of the seeds with it. And year after year after year, it infested the Deschutes River in the Capitol Lake area. So in 2014 and 15, volunteers, along with county personnel and summer hires, went out and clipped the seed pods off the plant. That's what we were told, manual eradication of this plant. Well, we took rowboats. We walked in the water along the shorelines with hip waders on, and we clipped the seed pods off, put them in our boats, and put them in a dumpster to take them away. We did this for 2 years. There was so much yellow flag iris that this was deemed to be unfeasible. So the county got grants from the Department of Natural Resources and Washington State Department of Agriculture to treat the yellow flag iris chemically. And that started in 2015 and continued till 2018 by noxious weed personnel. Treatment was normally done in May, just as the flowers were starting to bloom, so they were very visible. But the county noxious weed program had difficulty with personnel after 2018, so started hiring a contractor to do it, and the contractor did the weed treatment for yellow flag iris from 2019 to present. It's been a year after year process of which the Lake Management District has contributed funding as well as the grant money provided by the state. In 2016, we had a bunch of floating islands, similar to the one you see out by this buoy, such that the Seattle Racing Association had to cancel its race in the spring of 2016. Volunteers then paid a contractor to remove tons of yellow flag iris floating islands. These islands, like the one you see there in the picture at the bottom, were towed to the shoreline, were grappled in and pulled in by volunteers, and then a contractor pulled them in and stacked them on the shoreline, put them in a dump truck, and hauled them to a disposal site. There were over 16 10-ton dump truck loads of floating islands removed from the lake. There were about 20 floating islands removed in all. In 2017, County Noxious Weed Control Board designated yellow flag iris for control on Lake Lawrence. And in coordination with Thurston County Parks and the Washington State Department of Natural Resources, we identified a location to stage floating islands. Essentially, what we would do is volunteers, when a floating island was identified, because they're a hazard to navigation, we built hooks ourselves, got rope, and we would tow these floating islands to a designated location that the Department of Natural Resources and Thurston County Parks identified. You can see here's one of the floating islands that we towed, and the county park is in the background there, and there's a cove to the upper left side of this picture that we would tow these islands to and store them. Now, the question always is, well, how are we going to control these in the future? Well, we've been doing this since 2014, and we've been partnering with Thurston County Noxious Weed Program. We've been treating all of our shorelines to include individual private shorelines with funds that are paid for by the Lake Management District. That process is going to stop moving forward in the future, but the county is going to continue to obtain state grants to control yellow flag iris in density levels 3 and 4 areas around the lake. This dominance or density levels by parcel was put together by our aquatic resource specialist this last year and used to treat yellow flag iris around the lake. So the areas primarily in orange and red are going to be treated by the county utilizing grant money from the state and a small portion of funds from the Lake Management District. We're going to work with our aquatic resource specialists to identify the specific areas, but this is a good start. Private homeowners and our HOA community park areas are going to do their own control method, manual control method. I'm going to show you how that looks. We've actually put together videos that are going to follow each of these segments. So we're going to pull what you can, and that means the small stuff, whatever you can pull out without breaking off the root systems.
This is yellow flag iris, and I'm going to show you when it's small like this, wear gloves, long sleeve shirt, pants, and you can reach down toward the bottom, and in this soil you can pull it out, and then you want to bag it. So this stuff's young, but you can see how many roots it's got on it. And these are young plants, new seeds. I'm going to pull these out, and then we're going to try to find a larger plant that's going to be harder to pull, and you're going to have to dig it out. So you bag this stuff and you throw it in the trash, the garbage, not your compost. Let's go see if we can find something a little bit more difficult to pull. You got little stuff here, comes out pretty easy.
Dig what you can't pull. This video shows how you dig them up and get rid of them.
Your shovel will come back from it just a little bit. Pull it up, and you can see this is a more mature plant. How massive that root system is. Get as much out as you can. That way it's not as liable to come back next year. Now this is a fully mature yellow flag iris. It's getting ready to seed out. Another couple weeks you'll have the flowers will be gone and seeds will be coming out, seed pods. And if you get down real close to the bottom, gather it up, you can tell you can't pull that out. see, we loosen the ground up around it, and you can get those roots up. You want to get the whole plant, roots and all, if you can.
Cut the seed pods off, what you can't pull or dig. And we're going to show you how to do that too.
Okay, back with you this morning. As you can see, we have a tall yellow flag iris. It's about 4 foot tall, very mature plant with seed pods, numerous seed pods. Everywhere where a flower bloomed, you're going to have seed pods on it. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seed pods on that one stem. Now you're wearing gloves, long sleeve shirt, long pants, and you want to cut. When you give seed pods like this on a plant, you try to dig it out of the ground would be damn near impossible. So you want to cut right below the last seed pod stem and put it in a bucket or a bag that you're going to throw in the garbage. So we're going to cut all the seed pods off of this. That means it can't reseed, it can't throw additional seeds. Although the plant will continue to live, it'll die its normal life in the spring and then it'll come back next year. And as long as you keep cutting the seed pods off and don't let the seed pods generate new seeds, this plant won't spread except through the rhizomes. Now this one plant has multiple seed pods. You want to make sure you get them all. As I'll show you in a later video of a plant that I'm watching, I'll show you how many seeds are in one seed pod. There's thousands. They're very tiny. They float on the water. They'll blow in the wind, and they'll go everywhere. Now that's one seed pod with the seeds right there. On that one stem, there were 6 pods. So one stem is going to produce hundreds, if not thousands, of seeds. One plant each year. That's why we want you to clip the seed pod stems below the pods themselves. Put them in a trash bag. Put them in your trash. Do not put them in compost. I hope you've enjoyed this informative and educational video, and that you do the right thing, and that we get control of the yellow flag iris. Over the last 8 years, since we've been treating all properties around the shoreline of Lake Lawrence, we've reduced the amount of yellow flag iris by about 75 to 80%. We still have some areas that have a high concentration, and we're going to continue to go after those with Lake Management District funds and state grant funds. But there's very few private property parcels now that have yellow flag iris on them, and it'll be up to us as individual property owners to control the yellow flag iris on our individual properties. Thank you for getting rid of this very toxic and invasive plant, and I look forward to providing you more videos in the future.